Hello, Eight of Cups family. Welcome to Eight of Cups Tarot and welcome to your astrology portion of the October readings. Guys, October is really intense. It's really all about this Plutonian energy. Very fitting for October, very Halloween-like. But it starts out in the beginning of the month with an extremely intense new moon. Now, typically we look at new moons as an avenue of growth, initiation, inviting new things into our lives. This moon is very different. We also have 4 planets stationing direct this month, and a lot of our personal planets are shifting to different signs. And on top of it all, we have a super intense Mercury retrograde in Libra. So let's put it all together really quick. Here's how it's going to go. The beginning of the month, right out of the door, we're going to be triggered. The universe is really pushing us to expose some of these deep wounds that are buried. Now we're playing along with making an opposition to Chiron with this moon. It is conjunct Mars. It's making a square to Pluto. Mercury is making a square to Pluto as it's in retrograde most of the month. And it's also creating a beautiful trine to Jupiter. So it's very hard to navigate between this really beautiful, hopeful Jupiterian energy and a square to Pluto. This is really where we bring up the depths of our wounds and our subconscious, and we offer them up for healing. So this new moon is about releasing these old feelings, releasing these old triggers. Because Mercury is retrograde and Mercury rules the mind and how we think, it's giving us a chance to reframe this. This is an invitation for a lot of us to step out of the victim mode. Now, I don't say that like, you have things happen to you in your life. That's what we're here for, is this human experience. But because the bad things happen, because we've had disappointments, and we start to look at life and we start to look at what fear does to us, how it makes us sell ourselves short, it stops us from participating in certain things. It stops us from deepening our connections. And some of these old wounds are going to get triggered. And we're going to have a choice, because Libra, a lot of this energy is about choice, and we've got the North Node in Gemini, and it's getting ready to finish up here and move into Scorpio-Taurus axis. We've got a lot of things we've got to close out rather quickly in the end of this year. Jupiter is going direct. He's going to finish up his tour in Aquarius, and by December he moves back into Pisces. And so we're really left with Saturn, which is also going direct in Aquarius, which really does talk about the healing of the collective. There's an opportunity here. We can resonate with those old wounds. We could play this out in a lot of different ways. We can make choices to stay in a place of fear and to play it safe, or we can tap into that Jupiterian energy and allow ourselves to grow. When we start to see these situations from a different light, growth is always inevitable, right? So we have these really beautiful energies, and because we've got all the energy going on in Libra right now, there is a lot about partnerships at stake here. Now, it doesn't have to be romantic. It's just simply the partnerships, the friendships that we hold in our lives, and how we view them, how we approach them, what we're willing to give to them. Some of these relationships this month are going to be make or break, because we're going to have this mentality. For some of us, there's some things that are playing out that seem very familiar, and because we've been there, done that, we're not going to want to do it again. And so there's this fierce independence that comes through, especially by the end of the month as we have the full moon in Aries. This is an energy of wanting to go it alone, it doesn't matter what other people think or say. And that's all part of this, finding our sovereignty this month, figuring out who we are and what we want and committing to it. And we're going to see other people triggering us. We're going to see a lot of projections in other people. And Mercury retrograde in Libra can have a very sharp tongue at times. And I have to laugh because my girlfriend just got me this as a birthday present, this cup. I don't know if you guys could see it. Sorry for what I said while Mercury was in retrograde. I think a lot of this month has to do with our ability to find grace, which means not only are we learning how to accept ourselves, we're also learning how to accept other people and their choices in their lives. Now, you look around at the collective, and one of the easiest way for me to frame this example for you is some people are triggered because people don't want to wear masks, right? I have no opinion on this. You do you. But it triggers some people. And we don't know why. We don't know where that comes from, that internal triggering. And then other people are triggered at your lack of fear, the lack of respect for what's going on. And it's really all about this judgment period. We're judging everybody. When you find grace, not only do you have the ability to do what your heart and your soul tells you to do, but you also have compassion to understand the choices of other people. Now, I said it's a karmic month. When we have planets moving direct, that means that there's forward motion, but usually what happens, first we will have Pluto stationed direct, then we will have Saturn, then Jupiter, and towards the end of the month, Mercury will move direct in Libra. This is big energy because there's a lot about karma that comes into play. What have you learned? What's the risk and reward? Jupiter wants to give, right? He's moving into Pisces, so there's a preparation. We've got to get ready for this great renewed faith. We had a taste of Jupiter in Pisces earlier in the summer, late May and June, before he retrograded back into Aquarius. Those storylines were introduced. Where do we want to take it from here? Saturn, being another very karmic planet, stationing direct, is going to be all about our inner integrity. If we're not in the right relationships, if we're not in the right job scenarios, if they are not a reflection of our true integrity and what our soul wants and needs from us, and part of our destiny is at play here, then these things are ultimately going to crumble. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's going to leave or quit their jobs in October, but we're looking at the collective, we're looking at these vaccine mandates, and we're looking at a drove of society that is changing their career paths. So of course there's a lot of change in the sky, and with that amount of intense change comes the idea of vulnerability. And you're going to find yourself vacillating between vulnerability and tremendous bravery and courage this month, and those two go hand in hand so wonderfully. To look at the positive side of partnerships, we can find such a beautiful connection this month to people that are integral in our lives and do share that integrity. There's so much growth here if you are in a very supportive relationship. If you have very supportive friends, these will be a source of strength. Because it's so much nicer to go through these changes when you have other people that believe in you. So don't underestimate the support that you can get from other people, and don't underestimate what your support to them means as well. Vulnerability is a big issue for all of us because we've all been in that place in our lives where we've had to be vulnerable, where we've been hurt. Chiron is going to remind us of those wounds, but Chiron is here to teach us how to overcome it. And that full moon conjunct Chiron at the end of the month is where it all starts to make sense. What isn't working, what is working, the relationships that we want, what we want our futures to look like, what we want to do with our careers, how we want to invest our time, what our priorities are. Remember, we've been under this tremendous internal shift for several months. As these planets move direct, and especially into November and December, the action is just going to take place. These changes are going to unfold with very little effort anyways. So it's better to take October to do the internal healing, to face these old wounds and to reframe them. And it's important to understand that grace means that whatever your imperfections are, whatever your mistakes were in the past, they were here as a teaching moment, and we're meant to evolve from them. Nothing ever happens to us in this lifetime that will ever, it's never meant to keep us small. It's never meant to convince us that we aren't capable or we're not deserving of the things that we truly love. Guys, desire is born within us because it's meant to lead us towards our destiny. When you desire something, a certain type of relationship, a certain type of career or job, when you desire to have a child or to buy a new home, these are all callings on your path. And so the universe doesn't want you to play it small anymore. It wants you to listen to that. It wants you to start taking those risks. So October is such an important month to go within, to take that retrospective moment and to understand what it is inside of us that causes any kind of hesitation or delays or where we don't believe in ourselves. Desire is important. Mars is a major player in both of these moons. Where it is part of our soul's integrity, we have the ability to overcome and grow. Jupiter and Mars together is the greatest form of ambition, and the universe is so supportive of it. So pay attention to your inner callings. Pay attention to that inner healing. When you get triggered this month, and you will, you have to know where it's coming from. You have to know the universe just wants more from you, and that these old stories really have to be put to bed so we can move on in this new growth. Guys, I hope you enjoy your readings. October is a tremendously healing month, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Hello Libra, welcome to 8 of Cups Tarot and welcome to your cards for October. So I'm super excited to do this reading for you because I love the energy that's coming from these cards. And I just want to reiterate quickly how powerful this month is. We have 4 planets moving direct, which means there's things that are going to physically start to move forward now that were just simply stagnant or not moving before. On top of that, and especially for you, we have the Sun, an extended retrograde Mercury, and a full moon in your opposite sign. So, Libra, this will for sure be a really important month for you, probably the most profound month of 2021. Probably a lot of it kind of foreshadowing what 2022 is going to be about. And for a lot of us, it's kind of like the biggest moment since 2020, even. Because this is when life starts to move and it starts to match our current vibrational frequency. So right off the bat here, I'm looking at these 3 cards. We've got this 8 of Pentacles, Wheel of Fortune, and the 9 of Cups. And this is where your hard work really starts to pay off, okay? The investments that you've made, the work that you've done, the self-discipline, whatever that 8 of Pentacles can represent for you, the payoff starts in October. And the thing is, I think you feel this coming because you are coming out as a Prince of Wands, and that is somebody who is kind of just follows his heart, has the courage to go with the flow and make the changes, curious about life, wants to explore and see new things. And this isn't somebody who's stuck on old endeavors. Your environment is that of the Emperor. Again, another significant indication to me of your outward courage. And I don't know, I think this 9 of Cups is going to be different for everybody. For a lot of us, it's just kind of like a new way of life, right? Nine of Cups can represent, like whatever your hopes, dreams, and wishes are. Now, whether that's like an emotional fulfillment, a really beautiful relationship that's coming to culmination, whether it's like the job of your dreams, the home of your dreams, whatever that is, starting your own business, going back to school, like it could represent so many things. But because you've made the correct investments during this retrograde, and we'll talk about that in a second, the wheel starts to turn in your favor. But because we're coming from an Eight of Pentacles place, which is like this very organic place, it's not rushed, it's not forced, it's not built out of other people's instruction. Like this is you, your energy, your flow. For some of you, this is a job. For some of you, this is like a hobby or a passion. For some of you, it's a relationship that just flows really naturally and is in alignment with you. And for some of us, this is like the spiritual work that we've been doing, right? Like all these planets go retrograde, and the last couple of months, we've had to be like super honest with ourselves about like our own level of self-sabotage that we have, whatever it is, like our self-limiting beliefs. Some of us had to go through like heart openings where we had to really leave our past behind and kind of forget about how all of the situations culminated in the past, and accepting that we're moving into a new karmic cycle, which is what the Wheel of Fortune is. And so this Nine of Cups energy is very, very real. And I think for a lot of you, it's already like in your life, still almost feeling a little bit unattainable. Like it's not completely solid yet. Guys, I can't tell you enough. Like we've got earth energy and water energy here. And when you mix those two, you get very fertile ground, right? And then we have this coming to life, which is a card that suggests that there's something being born, a new idea, a new business, a new committed partnership, whatever it is to you. It's definitely like taking form in the 3D, but it's not solid yet. There's nothing like in writing because everything is very fluid here. We're looking at a lot of watery energy. And I think there's been an adjustment emotionally within us that we've been going through in order to kind of bring this thing to fruition. For a lot of us, it's been a process. But you're going to feel a calling. You're going to feel like the universe is going to make whatever this Nine of Cups is very apparent to you. Because it's not going to feel like anything else. It's going to be a lot different than anything you've done or anything you've started before in the past, because it is in such alignment with who you are now. And this Hangman and this Eight of Cups and this Three of Cups is really powerful energy, because this is a sign that you had to stay put for a minute. That you simply had to be the observer. Because there's something in your life that you needed to change your perspective on. Probably coming from overcoming those self-limiting fears, right? I don't know, like I just think as a collective, we've all become a lot more courageous in our lives, right? Like the universe is definitely changing and we all feel these occurring. Now it's probably going to take like a really long time for everything to completely balance itself out. But it wouldn't be unlike the Libra, the sign that represents balance, to kind of show the rest of us how it's done. And I feel like you are becoming the example for all of the other signs as they move through the final months of 2021 and into 2022. Much like all through 2020, right? The cardinal signs kind of took the hit first. They all made the adjustments and the changes
first. Now we're still working on the fixed signs this year, which is a little bit more of a difficult energy to move. And as they're just starting to crack and move, you're miles ahead of the game. If you have been doing the spiritual work, if you've been in alignment with the things that truly flow to you organically, if you've been participating in the relationships that flow to you organically, there's no push or pull energy with this. There's no games being played if it is a relationship, you know. It's just a solid energy that just keeps giving back. It just keeps saying, yes, yes, this is right. Yes, this fits. Yes, I enjoy this. I like my energy when I'm participating in it. And yet we've got this hangman energy, which could represent, for a lot of us, the external energies, external circumstances that aren't moving, right? Mercury retrograde, right? Delays, and even all the other planets being retrograde as well. There was just this feeling of not quite making anything, like I said, solid. And I think it's a different approach than what you've had before. And I think this hangman energy is kind of helping you to get through this Seven of Wands energy, which can be a symbol of obstacles and delays. It allowed you to get a new perspective. If there's something that you've procrastinated, right? If you've been listening to your intuition and something's telling you, well, don't make a move, don't say that, don't tell people, don't do it quite yet, you know, that was a blessing because you avoided a lot of obstacles in that way. But I think the energy changes in October, and I think now you're being asked to start making the changes. Look at this Eight of Cups in the center of the reading assures you that you are ascending. There couldn't be a clearer message here. Wheel of Fortune, Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups, as I always say, it's not an easy energy. It's not a light journey, because your hope for the future kind of has to do this whole reconciliation with the guilt of the past. There's a lot of things that you're leaving behind in order to obtain this Three of Cups. Forgiveness, resentment, because you're moving towards this emotional freedom. And this represents a whole nother way of being for you. Like, look at all the yellow here on this side of the reading. We've got the Nine of Cups, Three of Cups, and the Fool card. Fool card being represented by Aries, the Emperor being represented by Aries, your opposite sign, 7th house. There's a freedom from the burden and expectation of others. Okay, I know this is kind of like a little different, but I think our idea of relationships are changing, and they have to. Like, if you look at the divorce rate, you look at the way that relationships are going, you know, this whole, you know, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction that happened back in the 80s in your sign, in Libra. And now it happens again. We restart this cycle in Aquarius. And we have to really look at the way we view relationships, the way we view contracts or jobs or, you know, commitments of any kind. And I think in the past, there was an essence of burden, of responsibility. There's a heaviness to them. And when you step into this new energy, when you step into this new thing that's kind of more reflective of who you've come, who you have become, there's such a freedom. And it's almost like this return to like a childhood state of happiness. And the universe is asking you, Seven of Cups in reverse here. The universe is asking you to really reflect here on where you're having a hard time opening your heart. Now, for some of you, it's because you're drained. Because maybe the past has drained you. It's made it hard for you to kind of really believe in this Nine of Cups. You might see it, you might be involved in it, you might be doing it, you might be feeling it, and yet there's like this part of you that doesn't even understand that this could be possible. Almost like this is all just an illusion. So close, it's at your fingertips. This is like a whole way of living in which you like enjoy every single day. This is allowing yourself to live in a happier, freer lifestyle. Now, I'm not saying I've ever won the lottery. I have no idea what that feels like. But oftentimes we hear everybody talk about like, well, if we had all the money in the world, like what would you do and how would you live your life? And like some of us would envision ourselves like just, you know, laying on a beach all day. And some of us would, you know, be exploring the world or whatever it is that we would do if there were no limitations. And I think at least in some certain circumstances in your life, there's situations in which there are just no limitations. And the freedom that comes from us, the freedom that comes from that means that we can truly fall into ourselves. We could feel comfortable with ourselves because it's so unconditional. And the Knight of Cups in reverse is like this old version of ourselves that held back emotionally, right? Maybe we just didn't have it to give. Maybe we were afraid of rejection. Maybe we just didn't believe, like I said, of that in that dream. But that dream is that thing that's getting you to walk away from this 8 cups towards the 9. It's what gets you to take that leap of faith. For some of you, you won't. For some of you, you're going to hold back. A lot of you could get stuck in this hanged man. Your perspective hasn't quite changed, and that's fine. Listen. Some of us are going to make some really big changes by the end of 2021. Others, we're going to get a little bit more forced into it until March of next year. Either way, the change is occurring. I think if some of you are brave enough to follow the happy now, the results will be of unbelievable abundance, of emotional freedom. Some of us are going to get dragged along, kicking and screaming because there's something within us that's afraid to make these changes, afraid to believe in ourselves. Now here next to the Prince of Wands, we have this card number 29, Breathe. On the other side of the Emperor, we have this card number 29, Coming to Life. Guys, both these cards break down to 11, meaning that your entire reading is sandwiched between an 11, and there is such an element of destiny coming from this. See, there may have been something very practical, the way that you looked at this thing, this job, this hobby, this relationship, whatever it was, and you wanted to look at it in a very practical way. But the truth of the matter is, it's not practical at all. It is an element of destiny. The universe is calling you down this path. We have the card Breathe. And we have the card coming to life. And this card kind of symbolizes like birthing something brand new into your life, something that is a part of your destiny, something that you never, like the dream you had, but you never really believed it could happen. What I love is we also have this card right here, card number 33, joyful muse and inspiration. And this is like something or someone that comes into your life and it wakes you up. And it reminds you that life isn't really all about this Eight of Pentacles. This Eight of Pentacles is a great place to be. But you know that you don't stay there. You know that your mission, like this whole point of being here, is the emotional evolution. And our whole existence and what we're supposed to do here on earth is to experience this Three of Cups energy, which is the epitome of real love, of celebration in the day-to-day life. Like, that feeling when you're getting ready to go go on vacation and you have like all of these expectations, like not negative expectations, like where you walk in and like nothing like can meet your expectations, but like that whole idea of like, I don't even care what we do or where we're going. I just want to get away and relax, and I'm looking so forward to it. And that's kind of like this feeling that I get with this row of cards here. There's just a feeling of not giving a damn what other people think or what other people say or what other people's expectations are of us. And for some of you, this inspiration is quite literally like someone or something that comes back from the past. Or someone even brand new who really and truly does inspire you. And it reminds you of who you were in a more childlike state. Before the disappointments, before the broken hearts, before the shitty jobs and the shitty bosses and the horrible co-workers, before life kind of tainted the idea of the dream anyways. And there's a coming back, bringing back this inner hope, this inner childlike state of just playfulness and joy in our day-to-day life. And the only obstacle you have is whether or not you're deserving of it, whether or not you're able to receive this fully. In order to receive it, you have to believe in it. And see, this stupid card of Capricorn, the devil, this is the Plutonian energy that's going to be with us all month as Mercury makes that square to Pluto. Meanwhile, not to mention Saturn and Jupiter both going direct in your fifth house. Somewhere deeply rooted within you is the fear, is the oppression, the idea that this job or committing to this thing is just going to tie you down in chains. Because maybe that's what you experienced in the past, because maybe that's been your perspective this whole time, Like if you start your own business and then you worry, like I think about this a lot too, like if I had to do this for a living, if I was like trying to actually make money from it, then would I start to resent this like it was just another job or another commitment? Or would I still love it the way that I love it now? Because I don't have to do it. I don't have to spend my time. I just want to spend my time doing it. And there's this old version of self that's saying, yeah, but if I put my whole heart into that, is that going to turn out that way too? The Emperor doesn't second guess himself. The Prince of Wands doesn't second guess himself. And the universe is quite literally begging you to not second guess what feels right now. And I've been saying for a long time that this is different, right? The situations we're coming into, the people that we're meeting, the relationships that we're in, these are different than they've been in the past because we're in a new cycle and we're learning new lessons. We've evolved from those old storylines anyways. And so this Knight of Cups in reverse, anywhere that you feel closed off, or you feel like you can't communicate, or you can't talk about your emotions, or you can't emotionally invest in something, it comes from a deep-rooted fear. Fear that you'll be tied down or oppressed by this. But the outcome is the Fool. And the Fool simply isn't oppressed by anything. He doesn't question it. He doesn't hesitate. And you have Breathe, which is the reminder that everything is okay in the present moment. 8 of Pentacles. You don't have to put in work. You don't have to put in a whole lot of blood, sweat, tears into this thing. It just flows. But you do have to embrace it. Be bold and make the first move. Which this month might just simply be making the wish. Deciding that this is something that you want. Deciding that you're going to allow yourself to believe in this kind of life. Bottom of the deck, guys. 8 of Wands, Ace of Cups. This is an emotional new beginning. A lot of times this 8 of Wands is suggesting conversations, contracts, all representing the new beginning. It's a really beautiful energy. Listen, before I go, I really had to meditate on these cards for a minute because the emotions coming from it were so profound. And I thought of this poem. It's one of my favorite poets, Mary Oliver. It's called Don't Hesitate. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give in to it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. And whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. I just wanted to leave you guys with that because I think it kind of encaptures the level of change you're about to invite into your life. And for that, Libra, do not hesitate. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful month, and I will see you very soon for your November readings. Take care. Bye.